who came very often to our house, who saw how I was suffering, and he really helped me a lot. I don't think I ever replaced Anna for him. I personally had the feeling very often, but that he never ever made me really think that, but I just felt it, that when he looked at me, I always thought, is he thinking, why did this child survive and why not my own daughter?
Many know the tragic story of Anne Frank, the teen whose life ended at Auschwitz during the Holocaust, but most people may not know about Eva Schloss, Anne's stepsister and childhood friend. She's a Holocaust survivor whose story is an incredible triumph of the human spirit, one that is preserved in the documentary 116 Cameras.
We are joined by Eva Schloss. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure.
So we saw part of this 116 cameras, and this is where, is it through USC where they're trying to do this 3D documenting stories of Holocaust survivors, correct?
Correct, yes. A whole week I was in California, and every day for 8 hours I answered over 1,000 questions.
Do you feel like it's helpful to relive it and retell the story?
Well, for 40 years I didn't talk about it. And I was shy, I had problems, I had nightmares. But once I started to talk about it, I could kind of let go. Of course I remember it all clearly, but it wasn't really bothering me so much.
At what point did you read your stepsister Anne Frank's diary, and what was the impact that it had on you, or what surprised you about it?
Well, of course, after it came out in 1947 in Holland, Otto Frank, who was, at the time, he wasn't my stepfather yet, but he was family friend, he gave me, of course, a diary. And I must admit, you know, I'd gone through the same thing, and I wasn't impressed. And I was still full about what happened to me, that I'd lost my father and my brother. And so I must say the diary didn't make a big impact on me at the time. Only many, many years later, when I'd settled down mentally, you know, to be able to digest it all, I realized the value of the diary and the cleverness, really, she had when she was 13 years old.
I can't imagine. You said you didn't talk about it for 40 years, but even reading that diary, it's like reliving what you went through. It would be very painful.
Well, that is why, you know, I thought, well, I went through the same thing. And, and I went through the camp. I mean, the diary is very important because at that time, when it came out in America, that was as far as people wanted to hear about it. It wasn't yet, you know, a Holocaust story like Elie Wiesel's books or my books, because he couldn't write once he was in the camp. And as well, I disputed very much at the time. That has become so very famous when she said she still believes in the goodness of mankind. I said, would she have written that if she had survived and experienced the unbelievable cruelty of the Nazis?
And while we may not necessarily see something exactly like this going on today, you know, some say, well, this will never happen again, but it could happen again.
Well, I think terrible cruelty is happening when you see what ISIS does in Iraq or in Syria, beheading people, and, you know, unbelievable things are still happening. Not on such a planned scale, like the Holocaust. 6 million people is, you know, enormous. But individually, there's still thousands of people being murdered every day.
I think it was last year we heard a story that an alarming number of people under the age of 35 didn't know what Auschwitz was. I mean, it's, after all the speaking you've done, is it astounding to you, and what needs to be done?
Well, I was amazed to hear that in America only in 6 states it's compulsory to teach the Holocaust. And they have no curriculum, so if a teacher does 1 hour of telling something about the Holocaust, then you can say, yes, I've done the Holocaust. You know, there should be a curriculum, there should be really be told what they have to teach. And of course, very often in England as well, I go into schools and I said, are the children prepared what I'm going to talk about? They say, yes, I've read the diary. I said, that's not a preparation for the Holocaust.
No.
That's just a slight introduction, but it's not really what I'm going to talk about.
And so in a sense, Anne Frank is immortal through her diary, and
She has
perhaps
become...
you and some other survivors will be too through these films.
Well, with this hologram now, that is a program for the future, because every day now I read in the paper somebody has died. You know, I'm all over 90. I mean, I was 15 when I was taken to Auschwitz, so I'm one of the youngest who are still around. So, you know, in a few years there won't be anybody.
How did you survive?
Well, can't tell that in a few minutes, but the two things. With 15, you know, I wasn't ready to die. And I was really very stubborn, and I wanted to live desperately. And that was, of course, one very important thing, not to give up hope and to just carry on as good as you can. And the other thing was a lot and lots, and that is with every Holocaust survivor, a lot of luck. Little incidences, which I might be able to talk tonight about, it happened, which gave me again a chance to live another day, another week.
Yeah, and I'm sure children still ask questions, don't they?
Oh, they do, yes.
You think maybe they would avoid it, but did they come out and ask you questions, don't they?
They ask questions. They don't like to ask me, can we see your tattoo?
Yeah.
Because they think I might be embarrassed. And this is why the hologram, when I went to New York to see my own image there, they say, ask yourself a question. And I ask, can I see your tattoo? And of course, I was willingly showing it. So children go there now and do ask it.
Wow.
I see.
You can hear more from Eva Schloss tonight from 7 to 9 at Lane Tech High School in Chicago. So great to meet you. And
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for sharing
Well,
your story.
thank you.
Thank you for being here.